Obviously, for still na Supreme Court vetting guso na Sambri drew a Obaso, one of the nominee her leadership. Just say one of a Nkrofona a John Dramani Mahama a poem say on so Uncle Kanko from a Supreme Court no. Na Sambri draft Afenyo marking so say obeto to my miano. Na said the Indian name no Afenyo marking will be or Casabia the old can be a you, which may be beat me use against you. And as a audio been be a few which may be beat me use against you. And no, and I could fast and sing in a banana no anything. Or catch her leadership I beating Nanoka say. Mwanga samuni pabako on campus you are on the same gender. You're suspended no. Call Supreme Court you beat me IABB. And as see an opportunity away and beat me the AKBB. F0ṛce the president, F0ṛce the Council of State Elders Fund say for any information reason behind the reason why the advice come President Mahama some inform the prima facie and BBT me a processing name be Sabri as a senior suspending one of your own. Bit my catch some information was own team yes I shut your Afenyo marking down with reason and lawful thought. Young couldn't quit things and much.
Okay. Lady, you said a J biodata personal profile. A J, you say you speak every English entry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Your tree out of 10, 9 out of 10, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10.
7
How
out
would
of
you
10.
rate your
7
tree?
out of 10.
Oh, okay. Which of the trees you mean? The Ashanti tree or the Krapim tree? Or your own standard tree?
Received tree.
Which one?
Received tree.
My lady, which one is that?
As I heard it being spoken around me and I picked up.
In the advisory role, reference is often made to decisions that they have communicated to the presidency. And the decisions are communicated without the details being shared with the public. And the public lately seem to be so concerned about the governance of our country. Would you suggest that the time has come for the Council of States to be seen to be doing some interfacing by explaining to the public or sharing with institutions like Parliament some of its decisions? After all, even in the lawmaking process, where the president refuses to assent, there's a process that requires a referral to the Council of State for them to have an opinion and bring it back to Parliament for a second consideration of the bill. This, it is stated in the Constitution. But in other matters, we don't. A recent example is the public outcry regarding their determination of a prima facie against her ladyship, the Chief Justice. Some hold the view that a transparent system where the Council of State, for instance, could have come out with their written opinion and share with the public on what constitutes the prima facie, which led to the president exercising a discretion to suspend. That would have been helpful for governance. Would you be of that position that they should be seen to being proactive and sharing with us the views they express in advising presidential decisions? or guiding presidential decisions. It could be anybody. Who knows?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I do not think that will work in every situation. There may be some things which right now here I cannot mention, which may be necessary for them to explain to the public, but I do not believe that in all things they have to come and explain to the public as an advisory body. Thank you.
Now, my lady, let's delve into comparative constitutional models. In other jurisdictions, upper houses or the Senate exist to provide mature second thought to legislative processes. Do you believe replacing Ghana's Council of State with a second chamber will better reflect the principles of representative democracy?
Honorable Chair, I do not think that will necessarily be so. Thank you.
You don't think?
My answer to the question was, I do not think that will necessarily be so. The replacement.
Very well. Can you explain? Can you justify?
Can I kindly have the question again?
Yes, very well, sure. What I'm saying is that in other jurisdictions, the upper houses or the Senate exist to provide mature second thought to legislative processes. Do you believe replacing Ghana's Council of State with a second chamber would better reflect the principles of representative democracy?
I said I necessarily, Honorable Chair, my answer is that I necessarily do not think that will be so, coming from my earlier answer that the Council of State could be strengthened. Thank you.
So now, let me follow up on the phrase could be strengthened. Can you share some views on ways of strengthening the Council of State to enable them meet modern expectations in governance?
Very well, Honorable Chair, thank you. I'll say that before this moment, this question had never come to me. If I am to give you a view, I'd have to sit down, critically look at the articles on the Council of State before I can come out. But I gave an example that in the advisory role, they may have to share certain things with the public, and not everything. That is one thing that could strengthen good governance. Thank you.
My lady, some have held this view that Article 89 appointment in parts perhaps amount to elite capture. Reason ascribed to this include the fact that it allows the president to appoint majority of its members, and the president may exercise their discretion by perhaps yielding to some elite in society who would want to be there. Do you consider this concentration of appointment of power a threat to Council of State independence? If so, how should it be constitutionally addressed? Of course, I'm mindful of the fact that there are regional reps. Each region brings a representation, and the mode of election comes from the various assembly members. Each assembly nominates or select 2 persons to constitute the college to do this election. But I am the mainstay of my question is on the concentration of power in the hands of the president to choose majority. Do you think that this is a threat to the independence of the council and the constitution must be looked at, in your view?
In my view, I do not believe that it's a threat. As you said, there's regional representation. That, in my view, is a balance. Thank you.
Well, to the extent that the regional representation does not create the arithmetic balance, like I said, the majority are appointed. I am looking at the issue of the majority being appointed by the president vis-a-vis the independence of SIM. If, as it were, the regional representation would amount to, say, 55% or 60%, and the president's appointment is, say, 40%, like we have in a number of governing councils. Most of the university governing councils, they are up to like 17, 18, but the actual presidential appointment in them are 4, not more. So it's in that context that I want to pick your thoughts regarding whether the Constitution can help us to deal with this imbalance.
Honorable Chair, thank you. You're saying whether the Constitution as it is can help us or if amended. Because it is as it is.
Yes, obviously, I'm looking at, when I say to be constitutionally addressed, I believe you appreciate
I am still of the opinion that I do not think that because you're saying that most of them are appointed by the president, that is going to affect the way they carry out their constitutional duties. I do not think so.
My lady, given that the Council of State's advice is not binding and that Parliament already performs scrutiny functions, what would you say would be your views for the justification of the constitutional purpose of the Council of State?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not too long ago, you asked whether there was a need to create an upper chamber or second one to help carry out the work of.
That will not just be advisory, but enhanced lawmaking.
So I am saying.
Honorable member, with all due respect, let me repeat. If a question is posed to the nominee and the nominee is in the process of answering the question, respectfully, let's allow the nominee to finish answering the question. Then you have the opportunity to ask another question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remember your question is, their advice is not binding. Is that it? However, I'm still asking the question. You are saying that the advice from Council of State is not binding.
However, Parliament, in the performance of its mandate of scrutiny, is able to undertake reviews and make laws. In that context, I'm trying to pick your thoughts as to whether or not there is still any constitutional relevance of the Council of State. However, you were trying to relate it to my earlier position on the need to create an upper chamber. And I was trying to draw your attention to the fact that the context I placed the upper chamber was to help enhance the process of lawmaking. They will not be there merely for advisory purpose. So I was trying to get that context captured properly so that it aids you in your answer.
Very well. Earlier on, I think I mentioned the Council of State should be strengthened to perform its duties. So I'm of the view that if now the advice is not binding, it is one of the things that could be looked at. Thank you.
Now, my lady, we have the Council of State, we have the Parliament, we have you, your institution, the courts. In your very honest opinion, do you think there are still very grave deficits in terms of the checks and balances on the executive arm of government?
I hope I understood the question when you say whether there are still very great deficits. Exactly what would that mean?
Well, what I mean by deficits or gaps in the checks and balances is to mean that we've had views expressing concern about the powers of the executive, and that it appears that the checkmating of the executive is not sufficient enough. For instance, in the situation we have now, where the ruling government is having 2/3 or almost in parliament, the view is that the checkmating, the checks, will not be as expected because they would use their majority to protect government. Same way, when it was 137, the public reacted quite differently. That, well, with that strong parliament where there was almost
Sakwa na odwino ho ntiase o. Odwin Afenyo makon pa wontiase. Ohwe nanim din a propaganda no adro nanim. Like odwin no ho a wontiase. Say the government or power emrani ye adwuma eye pa. Na se Ghana fon hwe ni atoto mrana se a eku na ediba obekika nse muhu chese se the government the constitution ye adwuma eye pa from so bi no ho na no na abo Akroma peace aba ti se o kaseti ya the government or dem right adwuma na they said they we dey opese ku to democracy ku the government kwatena nchen a na sa ban foforo ba na sa ban krona demra krona the government di adwuma ka say ye pa no ye adwuma ni bia ono de yenye se ni pa bi se no in one in kwa so funny serious or someone say we are politically minded because when you ignorant to the law, when you ignorant when nim the oye washada na ankuya mo enyom na ewo power dia ni nyina ansei enye bomo na power dia yenti omase na emra na dia ye adwuma na even point is from pona ko hye mra no nyom. You saying say Council of State Elders prima facie no manya omo form inside the advice come President Mahama say omo hwehwe the suspended Chief Justice in him no. You are saying some for reason but to abontin. Meanwhile, you know says in the constitution we say enye papa say omo yesa. You know. More pencil. Kwanya mo fa so di Charlotte say F0ṛce. Ano kraya che de who reason ti amudi ni F0ṛce no ano ani misbehave ano incompetent or misbehave ano say incompetent. Hey. No. Ukotina radio TV station can say emrana na president go for the day adwuma no. Emrana no day adwuma no. Any person be on support biano say nipa no empegana asem democracy no to na say. Ti entemas na emrana no day adwuma na ukotu article na ukotu we just say enwa na president go for the day adwuma. The same process o. Mahama also did the same process. Unwi mpo judgment mbaye unwimpu grandi uwi me yin Charlotte say from na kwotena radio ni TV so ekasa yinwimpu uyemu hyeso mo ye ho demonstration mo ye mo kama some parliament mo just a TV so radio so mo kama enkwisiaga enne nominee abetena wani ma wase onhwe ni ye na bia kine bi na ye ono to onke bi ma no na mra no ya trose wo so ke bi mo bi anase ya trose wo so yɛde mmara ne wɔ mmara no mu na yɛ adwuma. Star bɛn ne aka no. Mede anim sɛ mmara no de wom na yɛde yɛ adwuma. The same suspended Chief Justice Emma Yetias say the law is the law. Ono ne ka na asemo, no matter the noise you make, no matter the bend, no matter the way you are half or tenting with Sika here with the law is still the law. Be beyond Mrs. Sam. Now the law is still the law. Afenyo Michael was a lawyer. So there are some questions we will bisa or say ordinary person bisa. You are a lawyer and you are practicing law and you are also a minority leader or parliament. Just one name there. And so you hide behind politics to act as if we're ignorant. To act as if we name the Okoso. You have been doing this for so long. Subscribe and share my news on your binti for Akroma.